So the next exercise that we're going to do is going to give you yet again more practice in line control. And what we're going to do is we're going to establish 10 dots around a page, 10 points around a page. And every line that we draw, we will eventually be drawing a line from number 1 to number 2, number 2 to number 3, number 3 to number 4. And 2 to 3 and 2 to 4 and 2 to 5, so on and so forth. So all of these points will get connected, but we're going to do it using different line types. So there will be a series of lines that you will draw, and we'll start with normal, just a normal pencil line. Then we'll use a light pencil line, dark. We'll go from light to dark or thin to thick, and then on our fifth point, when we join all of the other points, we'll fade in and out. It'll be a nice varied line. When we get to point number 6, we're going to connect every other point by using a dash, but a long dash. When we get to the 7th point, we're going to use the short dash. And when we get to point number 8, we'll use the 0.2 fine liner. Number 9, we'll use the 0.4 fine liner. And number 10, we're going to close our eyes. So here goes. I'm going to take the back side of the sheet that I finished, and I'm going to plot out 10 points kind of evenly. I might have a bit of an open little gap in here, and number those points. And so the first point, what we're going to do is we're going to take the first point and then connect it to number 2, to number 3, to number 4, to number 5. You get the drill. And in this case, what we're going to be using is just a normal line. So pick the pencil of your choice. Now, the exercise in here, what it really will help you to achieve is the longer line. So drawing a nice long line. So I'm going to go from point 1 to point 2, and I will keep my eye on the destination or use a finger point and press hard on your opposite hand, not the one with your pencil, on that point, and you should get a pretty close connection to that point. So for number 1 to number 2, number 1 to number 3, and this is good hand-eye coordination, which you will definitely need to build as far as making good drawings, knowing where you want to go. So number 1 to number 4, number 1 to number 5, number 1 to number 6. This one's a long one, so I'm going to have to keep very steady and watch where it is I'm going. I'm a little bit off, but I'm not going to worry about that. Number 7, and you can see I'm turning my page so that I'm always drawing toward myself. Missed it a little bit. I'm not going to get too concerned because got to keep a healthy mindset when we're drawing and not get too worried about it. So here's, I am doubling up a little bit, and I'm not going to worry about that either. And what we're trying to achieve here are nice, even, straight lines with no hesitation, just a nice smooth line. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is a light line, and I'm actually going to use my 2B, or pardon me, my 2H, because it's lighter. So from from point number 2 here, I'm going to go back to point number 1, but using a very, very light line. And here's the drill, is that when I am repeating a line, so number 1 went to 2, and now I'm going number 2 to number 1, I'm going to follow along that line as closely as possible. So here's number 2 to number 3 as light as you can, and I'm kind of cheating a little bit in that I'm using a 2H, and it's naturally a light pencil. So from 2, now I'm going to go to number 4, and this is such great practice. Number 2, number 4, and number 5. And so on and so forth. I am going to connect that dot there when I get to number 6, and then I'm going to number 7, and then to number 8, going right to that dot if I can, and number 9. And I'm not going to overlap that line. I'm going to come along nice and even toward it, and that will just help with more practice with that. Okay, so number 3 right here, we're going to use a dark pencil. This is going to be a dark one, and I am going to use, I'm going to use my 6B. So 3 is going to go back to 1, and I'm not going to overlap that line. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to parallel the line that I originally drew from 1 to number 3. So 3 to 2, it too has always been repeated, already been repeated, so I'm going to just come right beside that light line that I drew before. 3 to 2, and now 3 to 4. in a nice dark line. Firm grip on that pencil, 3 to number 5. And now 6. I'm going to take time to sharpen this pencil because it's getting a little bit too dull, and I want it overall to look even. All these lines should look fairly regular. So sharpen my pencil, 6, back to 7. As straight as you can get, try not to wobble. And you do it by having a nice fluid arm motion. I'm trying not to smear, and if you're worried about smearing at all, one of the tricks that you can is just use a piece of tracing paper on your hand over some of those lines, and that will help alleviate smudging. And now 3 to number 10, and a little wobble, and I think I failed a little bit on that line because I didn't actually have it drawn toward me, but we're going to keep on going. So this next line is thin to thick, and I'm going to use an HB pencil, and I'm on point number 4, and I'm going to go from light to dark. So 4 to 1 is now going to be a light to dark line. I'm now going to go parallel to that line right there, and it's going to start off light, and then it's going to get darker as I get closer to the point. 4 to 1. I've already got a line already drawn for that. In this case, I'm kind of concerned about smearing, so I'm going to bring in some tracing paper to help guide that line, or guide my hand. So light to dark, paralleling that other line. 4 to 2, 4 to 3. I'm going to parallel, light, drawing toward myself, to dark, nice and even through there. And 4 to 5 is going to be a brand new one. So turn it towards yourself, light to dark, 4 to 6, 4 to 7, 4 to 8, oops, really missed it there, and 4 to 9, and 4 to 10. And you can see a little bit of character in my line. I got a little bit of a wobble, and I actually don't mind that at all. I think it sort of adds to the drawing. So that's light to dark. Now we're up for fade in and out. This is kind of a fun one. I kind of like this one because I'm going to push my pencil in a different direction here, and I'm going to fade in and out as I draw that line. 5 to 1, 5 to 2. You can draw it that way, 5 to 2, or if you want, no reason why you can't just come in and out and in and out like so. That's another way of getting that. That was 2 to 3, I goofed. So now 5 to 3, light, dark, fade in, fade out, twist your pencil. Just see what you can do by not holding it conventionally. 5 to 3, 5 to 4, 5 to 6, brand new line. Sometimes that one's the most interesting. 5 to 6, 5 to 7. I think you're getting the point here. Using an HB, probably have a completely different result if I use the 6 or the 2H, 6B or the 2H. There, that one's taken care of. Now we're going to use a dash line, and this actually does require a lot of thought. And I'm going to just change it up a little bit. So I'm starting from point number 6, and number 6 is going to be a dash line. Now just a little bit of instruction on the dash line is when you are drawing it, it actually has a start and a stop, and a start and a stop. And you can see that the gap between the dashes is consistent and the length of the line is consistent. So that's what we're going to achieve on number 6. Number 7, so that will be from point number 6. Number 7, what we will want are short dashes. And again, a start and a stop and a start and a stop. And the gap in between and the length of the dash are consistent. And so that takes a bit of practice. And point number 6 here. So point number 6 to point number 1, I'm going to parallel. And if you find yourself going off track, I'm going parallel to the line that was originally drawn here. You can also give yourself a light guideline, like so. And light enough that when you draw your dashed line, it really disappears. You won't even see it. But it gives you a nice guide to draw your dash. This is sort of getting into a rhythm of drawing it, such that everything is nice and consistent. So I've now just gone ahead and finished the rest of the lines. So I used the long dash from point 6 and I used the short dash from point 7. And I used the fine liner point 2 from number 8, and then I used the thicker one, point 4 from line number 9. And the interesting thing that's actually happening, now you can actually start to see it, is you get a really three-dimensional image starting to happen, so that you can see that anything that's lighter appears in the background. This is actually looking like almost like a net, and the darker lines really do pull towards the foreground. The lighter lines draw back, and this is a really important thing to consider when we're drawing, because when we're drawing a three-dimensional form on a two-dimensional plane, what we want to do is just really give that illusion of depth. So for elements that are closer to us, we would use a darker, firmer line, and for elements that are lighter, we get away with making those lighter, and they'll appear as if they are in the background. So the last one, and it's kind of fun, and I'm going to use my fine liner again, is drawing with your eyes closed from point to point. So what you have to do is start off with your eyes open, knowing that you're going to start off with number 1, and then you're going to close your eyes, and with your pen, or with, pardon me, your finger firmly pressed on point number 2, you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to draw toward that point. So I'm closing my eyes right now, and I'm drawing toward my finger. Aha, good, kind of got there. So from 1 to number 2, actually I should have started with number 10. That was point number 10. So 10 to 1, let's do that one here. I've got my finger firmly pressed on that point. I've got my eyes closed now. Give a little wiggle and off I go, concentrating on where my finger is and trying to aim toward it, and I'm a little off. All right, number 10 to number 1, number 10 to number 2, and I think you kind of see what's going to happen with all of these. They're going to be a little bit wonky, but it's kind of fun just to see where you get to. And number 3, it's over here. Nice long distance, and it is surprising, but still incorporating a long smooth stroke, not moving my wrist, just moving my arm. I'm really off there. And number 4, and I'm going to go a little faster now. I think I can build up some accuracy if I just go a little bit faster. Sure enough, you do. 4. Try not to get too much of this happening. You want a nice straight line. Attention, number 4. And number 5 is over here. And now number 6, nice short guy, nice and direct. 6, and closing my eyes. 7, ooh, really off. 8, 9, and don't tell anybody or let anybody tell you can't draw with your eyes closed. So there's your piece of work. And now what you're going to do is label this one, and I think we're going to call this one line control. So very carefully, and in a size of label that suits and doesn't detract from the overall image. And you can see where I started this label and where I finished it lends itself nicely to the composition.